to the very first episode of Shakespeare's Cinematic Spectacular, aka Shakespeare's Reviews. But you know, my title's alliterative. Andrew just owns the show. So, who's gonna win? Who's gonna win? Today we're discussing the 1948 film classic, Hamlet, Prince of Denmark, directed by and starring Sir Laurence Olivier. It was his second directorial outing with Shakespeare, and it's often considered his most controversial. You see, it won all the awards, including Best Actor and Best Picture at the 1949 Academy Awards and the Golden Lion at the Venice Film Festival. However, because he cut down the original play's 4-hour running time to meet a cinematic 2 hours, many film purists felt that he cut out far too much of it. In fact, contemporary film critic Milton Schulman wrote in the Evening Standard, "To some, it will be one of the greatest films ever made. To others, a deep disappointment. Laurence Olivier leaves no doubt that he is one of the greatest living actors, but his liberties with the text are sure to disturb many." Milton. Seriously, you don't get it at all. Anyway, this film also starred future Doctor Who Patrick Troughton as the Player King. Andrew, what do you think of the show?
I really liked it. Now, at first, I want to say that trying to do Shakespeare's longest play and putting it into 2.5 hours, that's not an easy task. So I want to give him a lot of leeway on this.
And Olivier did do the screenplay, and he took no actual on-screen credit for that. He was uncredited for it.
Yes.
But he was quite familiar with the material and was basically able to cut out all the chuffer.
I mean, I thought it was a very good representation. I mean, yeah, there were some changes, some definite creative attempts at things, taking out Fortinbras and two of my favorite characters, Rosencrantz and Guildenstern, out of there. Well, I mean, understandable, minor roles. Okay, I get it. But I mean, first of all, you mentioned a little bit of it before. The casting was great. I mean,
it's amazing casting.
Amazing
look
casting.
at that.
And not all of them were classically trained Shakespearean actors, like what you would think they were, but no, they weren't. A lot of them early in their career, and they all went on to great things. A lot of good character actors, like the British are prone to do. And I think all things considered, especially for the time. I mean, you've got to remember this was the 40s. Very different than what you had later. A lot of innovation, I think, with the camera angles, with cinematography, definitely some influence from some of the cinema classics before it, like Citizen Kane. And I really think they did a good job overall. So yeah, I liked it. I thought it was surprisingly. I was surprised how much I did like it. I think that was it.
Yeah, it's good, and I will hold it up with another Hamlet that we may eventually get to, the Mel Gibson Hamlet, that also starred Glenn Close as Gertrude. That one is good. It's fast-moving, and when you're dealing with Shakespeare, that is incredibly important because most people have this picture of Shakespeare in their minds that it needs to be plodding and methodical. I mean, just take how he says the to be or not to be speech, for instance. Many people make fun of it by saying it is to be or not to be. That is the question. However, that is a caricature of Olivier. He moves it along. It is a well-done, well-spake speech, and it moves. It leaves you with the feeling that Shakespeare, it can be action-packed. It can be something that isn't plodding and only inward-looking, that it is a show that can really move your heart as well as move along on screen.
What did you think about the differences? I mean, compared to the play? I mean, do you think that they took too many liberties, or do you think it was, for an adaptation, summarizing, that it was about right?
I feel it was about right, because if you're going to do the entire play, you need an audience with the bladders set for a Lord of the Rings extravaganza. And full disclosure, as you can see right here, I'm a fan of Lord of the Rings. These are the extended editions Yeah, none of that theatrical cut nonsense. No, 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 no. If you're going to watch Lord of the Rings, you're going to watch all 16 hours of it. Yeah, we're doing this. Like, we can do it tomorrow. That's fine. But, I mean, Andrew won't be with me. I mean, we could do a Netflix party, mate. No, 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 we're not. We're not. No, no. Should we? No, no. Anyway, audiences at the time did have some long films.
Yes.
The original Ben-Hur and then also the remake of Ben-Hur are both great examples of that. And these are films with intermissions. However, most cinema audiences wanted to go in for 1.5 to 2.5 hours, and that's it. You have that now as well. You need to get in and out. You don't need to lecture to people. And if it is going to be a long show, then make it worth their while. Hamlet, in my opinion, as a professional actor who has performed in it multiple times, is too long. We have cut out, in stage versions, Rosencrantz and Guildenstern, because they add nothing to the plot. They do not drive the show forward.
Very true.
They are fun, yes, but they add nothing. They do not add anything to Hamlet's motivations, nor do they move the plot forward. They are there to serve as Johnny exposition characters, but they're not even providing it. It is being provided to them.
Yes.
And it's a lot of as you knows. And if they were there at the very top of the show, it would be a different story. However, it is not. And so cutting out, excising them completely is a good directorial choice. It is a good screenwriting choice. And when you're doing Shakespeare adaptations, as I do professionally, you need to both make it yours and also fit it within a running time that the audience finds satisfactory. Also, you have to take into account the time that this was made, 1948. Film was still scarce. Britain was poor. This is post-World War II. Britain didn't come out of World War II flush with cash. That's the United States. This is a British production. Film was scarce. Every frame needed to count. And up until very recent times when we started shooting everything digitally, you cannot waste film. So I'm sure that there's very little of this film left on the cutting room floor, that because of the time frame in which it was made and its running time, everything was an incredibly deliberate choice. Olivier comes from the stage. Many of his actors in the film came from the stage. They rehearsed everything before they shot it. So I think that the slightly over 2 hour running time was a good choice.
Yes, I totally agree with everything you said. My personal favorite example of that is the 1924 movie Greed. Eric von Stroheim.
Never saw it.
He decided to do. It was a very popular book at the time, Greed, and he decided to film it page by page from the book. It was a very faithful adaptation. It came in at over 8 hours long for the film.
Oh my God.
There was a small group of people that sat through the whole thing and watched the first screening of it. And some of them said that it was the best movie ever made at that point. But because, I mean, it was so long, it brought the ups. It's like sitting through Lord of the Rings. I mean, it had the ups and downs.
Lord of the Rings moves!
But
and the thing is, they cut out Tom Bombadil.
This had a lot of subplots, a lot of interesting... I mean, it was all great. It was a popular book. It worked great. But the studio wasn't going to have it, and they forced him to cut it down to 2.5 hours because the average person, like you said, couldn't handle that. He was so against it. And unfortunately, all that extra footage is lost. That's because film, it was recycled for the silver. So I get it. But I think you're right. I mean, you have to, this is for the audience. I mean, if you want to do an artistic film, use your own money, do a Charlie Chaplin, pay for it yourself.
Do a George Lucas.
Yes. And do whatever you want. I mean, you want that special edition? Hey, you're shelling out the money, you do what you want. Exactly. But this is, I really think that this was really well done. I mean, and the cinematography, so much extra was done with that. What's his name? Desmond Dickinson. He had created a new camera dolly specifically made for the movie. So you get some of those sweeping motions going around the actors, making it sort of the camera is like the theater in the round, where you kind of get to see around everybody. And you notice some of that movement, going behind people's backs in certain scenes. and going from panning from side to side and working around it. It had a pneumatic tires on it, so it was quite impressive and first of its kind in England. And they really tried some things. They really went out on a limb, and the cast. Oh my gosh! You mentioned what, Patrick Troughton?
Yes.
Who took over as the second Doctor in the original Doctor Who series.
He's one of my favorites.
And mine too. Originated the sonic screwdriver.
Yes, and he's also just whimsical.
He is. He played it right. He didn't try to copy William Hartnell, the first Doctor.
No.
He put his own spin on it and created, I'm going to do a different personality. And that
With the same memories.
That defined the whole Doctor Who concept so well. He's responsible for a lot of what defined Doctor Who, just because of the changes he employed. So, and he's a classically trained Shakespearean actor, so I think it shows. But I mean, you get Peter Cushing, who was Osric at the end, and I mean, that was very early in his career, long before Van Helsing or Dr. Frankenstein or Sherlock Holmes, or of course, Grand Moff Tarkin. That's
the most important role of them all.
You get Stanley Holloway as the Gravedigger, great character actor.
You have Gene Simmons as Ophelia. Gene Simmons was a wonderful actor. This is at the very start of her career.
19 years old at the time.
And she just goes on and has the most spectacular cinema and television career.
The Gravedigger went on to be Eliza Doolittle's father in My Fair Lady. And I mean, Christopher Lee was a palace guard long before Lord of the Rings or Star Wars. And maybe a lesser known for the true nerds out there, but Anthony Quayle, who was Marcellus. He was in Lawrence of Arabia and Anne of a Thousand Days and The Guns of Navarone. And I mean, a really good character actor who, I mean, all of these people got so much work after this. And not just because of this, although I think it was partly because of it, but they were just really talented. I mean,
yes.
Laurence Olivier, he had a good eye for talent.
Yes, and talent will out.
Yes.
What did you think of his turn as the ghost of old King Hamlet? And also King Hamlet in the flashback?
Yes. I thought that worked really well.
As did I.
There were so many, I mean, a lot of, talked about the cinematography. I mean, just the look of it was great. The sound, everything kind of worked there. It's hard for me I understand some Shakespeare purists have some issues with it, but I honestly, I really don't. I mean, I think if you're
Shakespeare purists have a problem with any version of Shakespeare that doesn't meet specifically with criterion that they have set up in their own brain pans.
True.
Honestly. I do, for anybody who is new to me, in non-quarantine times, I do an audience interactive one-man improvisational Shakespeare show at Renaissance festivals and schools and Lyra's private events, etc. And there are Shakespeare scholars who love my show, and there are Shakespeare scholars who hate my show. And they're like, no, how dare you try to cut it down to half an hour? And it's just like, dude, it's a sitcom. It fits inside of a certain schedule period. You want me to do Hamlet? All right, sit back. Do you have 4 hours to kill at a Renaissance Fair day? Seriously? You're just going to come in? I'm going to go to the Renaissance Fair, but instead of going off and seeing the joust, I'm going to go watch a 4-hour extravaganza over here. Seriously, me and one other person. I mean, no, that's not going to happen. And when you're making an adaptation, you need to take liberties. You need to combine characters or excise them completely. You need to take Tom Bombadil, who is fun, out of the freaking story. To bring it back to Lord of the Rings.
First rule of performance. If you're pleasing everybody as a performer, you're not taking risks and you're forsaking art.
Also, you're not pleasing anybody in that case. You're just making everybody vaguely satisfied.
You're making them comfortable. And that's, yeah, exactly.
To quote Orson Welles, who I believe himself was quoting somebody else, when you're making art, you're not doing it right if you're not pissing off somebody.
Very true. 100% agree with that.
So
I just really...
I'm not pissed off watching that show, honestly.
Did you have any problem with any of the casting? I mean, did you think anybody was a weak character in there, acting-wise?
I thought Claudius could have turned it up a bit, honestly.
Yeah, I'd agree. I think he was probably...
he did an okay job.
He was solid. He was solid.
Yeah, he was solid. And if the worst thing you can say about casting is someone was solid,
yeah,
that's not a
and of course,
thing.
considering some of the acting he was surrounded by, it's easy to. I mean, just being solid isn't a bad accomplishment. I mean,
Olivier was extra. Olivier was extra. Larry's going, hello, I'm Hamlet. And it's just like, at some points, it's just like, he needed somebody else to be like, all right, Larry, I need you to bring it back just a bit.
So what did you think about the age difference? Because that was like because what was it? Shakespeare's mother? Shakespeare's mother was played by what? Eileen Hurley. And she was 11 years younger than Laurence Olivier.
You mean Hamlet's mother?
Hamlet's mother. Yes, sorry, Hamlet's mother.
If he had made this in 1936, which is when he did As You Like It, I would not have been bugged at all by age differences because he was a much younger man. As he made this, how old was he in 1948?
41.
Good, 41. Thank you. It is not uncommon for lots of stage actors, specifically, to take on the role of the Great Dane in the late 30s and early 40s. That's where I'm hitting now. I'm 39 as we're recording this. And it is not uncommon. In fact, it's a very common move for middling age actors to say, now it's time to play Hamlet because I finally understand all the themes. However, Hamlet needs to at least look like he's no older than 25. Even so, like, you can get Paul Rudd, who is 51. You can go get Paul Rudd to do it because Paul Rudd hasn't aged since Clueless.
Yes.
That's just science right there. But very few other actors could pull off that age. I mean, Ophelia is 19 at the time of making this.
Yeah, Gene Simmons, I mean, that made it even worse because she not only was young, she looked young.
It's oogie. She should look young. And the thing is, Hamlet needs to look young. And this is also a time period everyone is coming off of the war. We remark on this all the time, not on this show yet, but just in life that, hey, look at these pictures from the 40s. Everyone looks old. And you had a harsher life, and it's harder to keep that jollity of youth in your features, so to speak, especially when you're wearing very high-waisted pants and talking very fast.
So you can say that Laurence Olivier was perhaps one of the weaker actors in there just because of the look, in a way.
Purely based on age, it was inappropriate. He should have got. Throw a dart. You would have hit someone more age appropriate to play it. Going back to Christopher Lee would have been perfect to play it. Go with any young up and coming actor of the period, and Larry could still do everything else, but he wanted to play Hamlet. His ego would not allow him to say no. So if we were going on like a 5-star rating basis, I wouldn't give this movie 5 stars. I'd give it like a very strong 3.5 to 4. But he still did it well. He did, for what it is and for the time period it is in, it is a good film. And you can't divorce it from the period in which it was made. True.
And you have to say that nobody has done more for British theater than Shakespeare. But if you're going by the list below that,
by the way,
if you're going for the B squad who did a lot for British theater, I think you kind of have to put Laurence Olivier on there, especially for the 20th century.
For the 20th century, absolutely.
Yeah,
and then,
he did a lot for British theater. So I almost want to just give him some leeway and say, listen, I know you were a little old to play Hamlet, but you kind of earned it. You did so much. I want to give you some leeway.
Yeah, and he is not the first person to age inappropriately play Hamlet.
Yeah.
Not just with the character, but then with his 2 leading ladies.
Yes.
It's just like, all right. And what is her name as Gertrude?
The actress
Eileen Hurley. She was not the first actress to be the mother to somebody who is far older than her.
True. True.
Nor will she be the last, sadly.
I mean, there's been a lot of talk about how women in the theater and in movies are treated comparatively to men, but back then, wow. Yes.
Indeed. But overall, yeah. I would give this, going on a ranking system that obviously we gave a lot of thought to.
Oh, yes.
Right before we started filming. I would give this 2 skulls up.
Yes,
I'm giving it a skull. I'm giving it a skull up.
Yes. Yeah. I would definitely give it a skull as well. A skull out of the grave. I not only did I know him well, I want to know him better, and I think you should too.
Yes, absolutely. So we are absolutely recommending the 1948 Laurence Olivier. You should call him Larry, by the way. Larry Olivier. Everyone at home. He's Larry now. He's Larry. The Larry Olivier Hamlet. I think that is a recommendation from us, and that's good for the very first episode of this enterprise, so to speak. What say you, Andrew?
I think this is wondrous, a lot of fun, a pleasure as always, and I look forward to reviewing more movies based on your excellent works in the future.
Thank you very much. Yes, and as the guy who wrote this, yeah, do whatever you want with it. Yeah, it's fine. Yeah, it was good. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like, Larry, maybe a little too old. You know what? You got it. That's fine. All right. Anyway, I'm going to go over there and do a thing. So, bye, everyone. I'm leaving. I don't know how the show ends, so I'm just going to walk off. That's just what I'm doing.
Well, I hope you all enjoyed it, and we will be back soon for more wondrous movie reviews, because everybody needs a little more Shakespeare in their life, and I hope that you get a little more too. Enjoy.
The play's the thing.
Well, this has been another great show. Will, you've got to at least tell people where we can find you. Come on.
Oh, well, I'm right here, right now. But if you want to find me in the else places, the other stuff, basically online, you want to find me, and I know you do, go and follow me on Instagram, Shakespeare.approves on Instagram. I'm other places too, but that's the one I'm going to talk about today. Andrew, what about you?
Well, for me, definitely find me at lifesaffair.com and facebook.com/lifesaffair. That's where you can find everything about Life's Affair, which if you're watching this show, well, you probably know about that already. But if you like me, you can find me at theirishbard.com.
And don't forget to support our Patreon, patreon.com/lifesaffair. You want to give us money? I know you do. That's a way to do it.
We do, definitely support us on Patreon, because we want to keep doing this show for as long as possible, once a week, just.
Thanks very much for watching. Cheers.